Good evening, it's 11 o'clock, and in just the next few hours, the state of Indiana is expected to carry out its first execution in 15 years. Joseph Corcoran will be put to death sometime between midnight and sunrise unless the governor steps in. Corcoran killed 4 men in Fort Wayne back in 1997, including his brother and future brother-in-law. Corcoran's attorneys argue their client should not be put to death because he's mentally ill and unable to understand the severity of his crimes. Tonight, our Logan Gay is taking a closer look at the death penalty debate here in Indiana and the last-minute efforts to stop the execution. Logan?
Dustin, Joseph Corcoran's attorneys have been fighting to spare his life up until his final hours. They even requested a stay of execution from the U.S. Supreme Court today, which was denied within the last hour. Their goal is clear: to prolong his life as long as they can. Corcoran has sat on death row awaiting his fate. He was sentenced to death in 1999 for fatally shooting 4 people, including his brother, in 1997. Now he's scheduled to die by lethal injection in the hours between midnight and sunrise. And as the clock winds down, in a last-ditch effort to spare his life, his attorney submitted this request to the U.S. Supreme Court for a stay of execution.
We would ask the governor to grant clemency to Joe Corcoran. He has schizophrenia. He's seriously mentally ill. The states surrounding Indiana either don't allow for execution at all, or they bar the execution of people with serious mental illness.
Death penalty policy analyst Robert Dunham says Corcoran's mental illness is critical when considering the stay of execution.
To allow him to be executed without conducting an up-to-date, modern-day, to-the-minute hearing on what his mental state is something that we as the public should not accept.
Even though Indiana hasn't executed anyone in 15 years. In a recent interview, Governor Eric Holcomb said his thoughts on it haven't changed.
I still believe in capital punishment. I subscribe to that as a form of ultimate justice.
But Governor-elect Republican Senator Mike Braun has different thoughts.
So I've got mixed feelings on it. I think from a religious standpoint, a lot of that is turned against it, almost across the spectrum of denomination.
Because this execution is happening so close to the end of Holcomb's time in office, Dunham says he believes this decision should be made after the transition of power.
It makes sense to allow the next governor coming in time to take a look at the case and to determine whether he thinks this is how Indiana should start executions, if he thinks Indiana should start executions at all.
In an interview with the Associated Press, Corcoran's sister Kelly, whose brother and fiance were killed in the shooting, said she opposes the execution, saying there's no such thing as closure. As for Corcoran's attorney, she says they will keep fighting until his last breath.
We're a pro-life state, and barring executions is consistent with that position.
Yeah, again, that request to the U.S. Supreme Court to stay the execution was just denied. So Governor Holcomb is the last person who could put a stop to the death penalty in this case. After Corcoran's execution, Indiana's Attorney General will seek a date for the capital punishment of Benjamin Ritchie. He was convicted in the deadly shooting of a Beech Grove police officer 24 years ago.
All right, Logan, thank you. So who will be in the room when this execution happens? Well, according to Indiana law, the only people allowed to be present are the prison warden, those selected to assist in the execution, the prison physician, one additional physician, the condemned person's spiritual advisor, and the prison chaplain. A select number of friends or relatives are allowed to view the process from an adjacent room, along with up to 8 relatives of the victims. Indiana and Wyoming, by the way, are the only states that do not allow members of the media to witness state executions. That's according to a recent report by the Death Penalty Information Center. But we will be monitoring the process at the Indiana State Prison up in Michigan City. You'll be able to find any updates on WTHR.com overnight, and then of course on Sunrise starting at 4 a.m.